Horror Fanatic here, and this month I want to talk about The Oath by Frank Parietti. This book came to me by recommendation from a coworker of mine, and since I have started it, other coworkers have commented about how much they like the book. This led it to have high expectations, and it met them for the most part. It felt more like a fantasy novel than a horror novel, honestly, for me, as it left no lingering sense of dread or unease. It felt wrapped up and confined and neatly tied away, with the threat never really feeling ominous past the ending of the novel. It has a large cast of characters, like massive, and for the most part each character gets addressed and gets its own little sections told from their perspective, as this novel is rapidly shifting from one character to another's perspective, even within chapters. Like, you'll get maybe a paragraph of someone, then the whole scene will change and you're reading from something else from someone across town, all weaving into the main story, and it's really interesting to read it that way, as I wasn't locked into one perspective. The plot is pretty simple and straightforward. Steve Benson goes to the small town of Hyde River after the death of his brother Cliff. As the only witness is Evelyn, Cliff's wife. And she's crazed, and she was found in the woods wielding a broken knife covered in his blood, and they assume it's a grizzly attack as he's partially eaten, though the fact that it's one bite and not a number of bites is a big deal. Steve so happens to be a wildlife expert and called Professor, and goes there to help track the grizzly that supposedly killed his brother. But over the course of his investigation, he comes to discover that it wasn't a rogue grizzly, and that the town is harboring a deep secret, and it builds from there. And so, the culprit in this novel is a dragon, but made of sin. So, the religious overtones in this book aren't in any way subtle. They are actually incredibly glaring and prevalent, and actually the major driving force behind the novel. And it really leads into a bunch of the characters as well, as they see this dragon as an extension of spirituality and religion, which they should, since it's made by their sin, as much as a dragon can be, I guess. But the town of Hyde River is controlled by Harold Bly, the last of the Hyde family, who founded the mining town in the 1800s. And after Steve arrives, a number of people start going missing, and one of the first people he meets is Tracy Ellis, the deputy, and the two start forming a romantic relationship, which leads in heavily to the end of the novel, so I'm not going to try to spoil that too much. But I liked it, and I liked how it went. It didn't meet my expectations, but in a good way. Like, I thought it was going to go down one path, and then it just went somewhere completely different, and I really liked that. Another character I really liked was Levi Cobb. He is Hyde River's resident crazy religious nut who, like the whole town, has an oath of secrecy to not discuss, talk, or reference the dragon or the history of the town in which the dragon's linked to anyone ever. Like, complete secrecy. And he doesn't abide to that. He'll talk about it openly, and the town hates it, but everyone knows he's crazy and old, so no one believes him, so he's not a threat. But he kind of is. And he tries to help Steve Benson, and eventually does help him enough to, like, the two unite towards the end of the book to help fight this dragon with Tracy Ellis, and it's pretty good. Like I said, I didn't expect it to go the route it went, and it's interesting that it did. But at the same time, it did feel, after pieces started falling into place, you could kind of see where it was going to go. So the ending itself was predictable, but the trip to it, not so much. In the later portions of the book, you'll get snippets told from the dragon's perspective. And I wish there was more of this scattered throughout the book, rather than condensing it towards the very end, as I wanted to understand the dragon better, because they constantly reference it having an intelligence, and it does think, and it does have feelings and emotions, and drives and goals that are its own, but it's the least explored of the characters, even though it's one of the most pivotal ones. The dread location of Hyde River really hit a note with me, as I'm from the Pacific Northwest, and I did grow up in a small town, and so I was able to relate to the characters within this town a lot more, and I was able to really feel like the essence of the town in a way I don't think I could have without those past experiences to draw on. And it was really interesting. Like, I pictured bars and stuff that I remember seeing as a kid growing up in these small towns, as Charlie Mack's Tavern, the Mercantile, the way the houses are set up, all reminded me of like growing up in rural Pacific Northwest. That said, the location itself never feels threatening, and I guess that makes sense. It's forested timberland, and I never got the sense that the location itself was a character. It was a place in which the characters all resided, which makes the town lose a lot of its distinctiveness for me, as it could be any town, which could play into it for some people, that this could be any small town, anywhere. But I don't really have a whole lot to say about The Oath. I overall really liked the novel. It was really well paced. The characters were interesting and engaging. The characterizations are like, and like how they explores characters is really great, as you get to see each character's own thoughts within them and how they, and like things from their perspective, rather than just from outside the whole time. And I really liked the setup. I really liked the pacing, like I said. I liked the mood and tone, like this slow, seething secret under the town that's just building and building and building, and everything's building until the end. And you really get a sense of that. But it did feel choppy and abrupt at places. Like, things would start, get rolling, and then just those. That said, some of these strengths did work against it. The multiple characters and the switching perspectives that I really liked often led the book to feeling choppy. Like the switch from one person to another was abrupt, and I had to take a second to remember who this character was, as there's so many that you're juggling. Over a relatively short book. I'm used to books with large casts, but this one has a pretty large cast, and it juggles a lot more than normal. I liked the location, I liked the monster, the dragon, but yeah, like overall, like it was an easy read. It wasn't a quick read, as I had to dedicate much more time to reading this due to my lack of time available to read. I had to make time to read this novel, which was weird. And at the end of the day, I'm really glad that I did. Will I be reading more by this author? Most probably in the near future. So, final thoughts. I like it. It's a good novel. It's solidly written. It's well paced. It's got distinct, like, visible. It has really good imagery. Yeah, I don't have anything really bad to say about it. It's pretty good, and I do recommend it. The Oath by Frank Perrietti. For next month, I'm going to be continuing on with the Dean Koontz Aunt Thomas series with the 6th in the series, I believe, Odd Apocalypse. So, see you then, and keep reading.